Welcome to another episode of A Bulldog's Perspective. I'm Sam Barish. I appreciate you guys joining me for this new episode. You see we got a full table here, a lot of things to talk about, but it is sadly unfortunate day here at Butler University for all of us. We are all seniors and unfortunately witnessed last night our last senior night here at Butler University. The Bulldogs took on the Xavier Musketeers. They fortunately did get the win for our last home game here at Butler. But nonetheless, we have now witnessed our final year here after 4 years of basketball. So kind of just reviewing our 4 years of basketball we went through here at Butler. Our first year, our freshman year, the Dogs finished that year 22-11. They went 10-8 in conference play. They reached as high as number 9 in the AP rankings and had some pretty significant wins that year. They played significant games, not necessarily wins. They played Xavier. They played Xavier when they were ranked number 5, and the Dogs were ranked number 9. That was a pretty crazy game. I remember distinctly the amount of people, the scalpers around campus. That was probably the most ridiculous thing to see in our freshman year alone. We played Nova twice. That was Nova's first national championship they had, so that was pretty crazy to get to see that national championship team. And not only that, but we also beat Purdue and Cincinnati both when they were ranked in the top 25. But nonetheless, Chris Holtman was not able to get that Dogs team past the second round in the NCAA tournament. And we had a very good battle with the number 1 seed Virginia in the tournament, but unfortunately lost in that second round. Moving on to that, our sophomore year, after losing our beloved senior Kellen Dunnan at the end of the 2015 campaign, the Dogs improved on our freshman year, however, going 25-9 overall with a 12-6 conference record. Chris Holtman had the Dogs in peak condition, no doubt. Some of our highlights wins we had that year was against number 8 Arizona on the road, number 22 Cincinnati with a crazy buzzer beater, number 9 Indiana during the Crossroads Classic. We had a great win against our rival Xavier, number 15, and to cap it off, we had a season sweep of Villanova, who was the defending national champ. So that season, our sophomore year, was without a doubt an impressive year for the Dogs. They were rewarded for it with a 4 seed in the national tournament, but unfortunately were soon met with the soon-to-be national champions, North Carolina Tar Heels, and were unfortunately knocked out in the Sweet 16 that year. Following that season, the Dogs did everything in their power to maintain Chris Holtman. The head coach had done incredible things for us our first 2 seasons here, but unfortunately he became the hottest name on the market, and he proceeded to move on to Ohio State. So therefore, the Dogs proceeded to hire Laval Jordan, who has since then been our head coach. And since junior year was a transition year for the Dogs to an extent with the new head coach, we did have a number of stellar graduate transfers moving on after our sophomore year. We had Avery Woodson, we had Tyler Lewis, we had Keith and Savage, all who helped lead that Dogs team to that 25-win season. The Bulldogs did still finish our junior year with 21 wins and a 99 conference record, but there was still definitely a lot of holes to fill on that team. They struggled to get that marquee win. We did beat Villanova once, but we played them 3 times that year, and Nova did dominate us the other 2 times. And a big win for us, we did get to beat Chris Holtman in his first year with Ohio State. We beat him in a buzzer beater in overtime. That was a fun one for all of us to watch. Sadly, the Dogs, once again, could not advance past the second round in the tournament after losing to in-state rival Purdue, and thus ending our junior year into this year, which we know there's not particularly a whole lot to talk about with this season. The Dogs struggled to put together a complete 40 minutes all year long. After losing Keelan Martin, felt like there was a hole needing to be filled all season, and it was kind of just waiting for Jordan Tucker to appear. And now that Jordan Tucker's here, it's not that we haven't been performing well, it just we need more time to perform up to where we believe our standards are. And that concludes our 4 years of Butler basketball. We don't really know where they're standing. We don't know if they're going to make the tournament. Selection Sunday is coming up in 2 weeks. We have conference tournaments coming up next week. But yeah, we had our final game the other day, and senior night concluded with our win at least against Xavier. So neither here nor there. We at least got to see him go out with a win, and we got to see 4 years of high-quality, fun basketball here at Butler. But now, to reflect on those 4 years, joining me, I have returning guests Nate Kelch and Daniel Asbury, and new guests Logan Wagner and Liam White, all 5 of us seniors here at Butler who have gotten to appreciate this culture of basketball we have here in Indianapolis. So, I mean, after watching last night's thankfully, to Xavier, how do you guys think this team compares to teams we've had the past 3 years, or even just if this team is up there as one of your favorite teams? Nate, you want to take a crack at it?
I think I kind of don't like this team as much as the past years. Obviously, we're still competitive in games, but we're not like winning like we used to, and that obviously plays a role into it. I just feel like our offense doesn't flow like it used to. It seems to be really, really stagnant at times. I know it was kind of bad in the past, but like it seems to be like really bad this year. So that's a big struggle. But they go out and compete hard every night, and I am hopeful, and I feel like we have a good chance to win against pretty much every team we've played. We just haven't performed up to our normal standards, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that our chemistry couldn't be any better than where it is now. It's just we're having trouble. I think it's like Nate said, it's the offensive side. We're missing a few ideas aren't meshing together, or just our roles aren't meshing together also. But, looking at last night, though, if we could play a game like that any other night, we would have a lot of more wins. I saw a lot of different similarities as to last year's team last night. It just seemed like we had a lot more passion and a lot more effort on the ball. I don't know what that really was, whether that was now we weren't really kind of stressed out about the getting in the tournament because I don't think there's any chance, or it was a Xavier game, or if it was a senior night. I'm not sure, but it looked better last night. So, the passion is there. It just wasn't shown very consistently over the season.
Yeah, I think it's always fun to watch the Dogs win, but I don't know. I have fun watching the Dogs no matter what, and I think over the 4 years that I've been here, the vibe in Hinkle Fieldhouse has always been the same, no matter if they're having like a 25-9 season or what are we at, like a 16-14 season this year. So I don't know. I just have a fun time going to watch them play, and last night it was a great game. Love seeing Nate and Paul Jorgensen. Gonna miss them for sure. At least I am. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm saying this team this year is by far the worst in our 4 years. I think every other team in the first 3 years would wipe the floor with this team.
I think it's easy to say that.
Yeah. This team just doesn't have grit, they just don't seem to want it at the end of the games. We've blown it so many times in the second half that they're just not mentally tough enough to be an NCAA tournament team or even close to what we've seen the last 3 years.
I feel like when I came to Butler my 4 years ago, I didn't know enough about the Butler program to even really understand like what that team was freshman year. Everyone was all over Kellen Dunn in my freshman year. I didn't understand like what he had done in the past 4 years at Butler, and like even then, like I want to think that this year's team might have had that more grit than that team, just because I didn't know anything about that team. But it's hard to, like you said, just the level of attitude and their like emotion in the game. It just didn't even seem the same as it did freshman year. But, what is this favorite team? Like I said, I didn't understand that freshman year team as well, and you guys maybe had a bit of a closer connection to those guys, maybe growing up a little closer to here than me. But of these 4 years, obviously sophomore year too, pretty impressive squad we had put together here. Which team stood out to you as your favorite?
Yeah, for me, I think my favorite was probably the sophomore year team when we went to the Sweet 16. Not just because we went to the Sweet 16, but because we performed well all year, and we were ranked, I think, most of the year, if I'm not wrong. And I think we just played more as like a unit. It seemed like more of a full team, whereas opposed to now sometimes it's like kind of just one-on-one for certain guys. It just seemed to be more of like cohesive on the offense and the defense. So it was just really fun to watch almost every game.
Mine would be our freshman year. I don't know if it's like a sentimental type feeling or anything, but it was a cool mix of a young Keelan Martin and then those awesome seniors that we had. Roosevelt Jones was one of the coolest players I've ever seen. The most unique college basketball player I think I've ever watched. So I like I said, I don't know if it's a sentimental thing, but that's one of the teams I would hold close to my heart about just like my love for Butler basketball. It was just such a cool thing to be a part of.
I think if I had to pick, I would pick last year or junior year, just because we got to see Keelan and also Kamar Baldwin, kind of not exactly in his prime, but better than he was his freshman year. So just seeing them two play together, and Tyler Weidman as well. Not as good a season as sophomore year, obviously, but I think one of my favorite seasons just to watch.
Yeah, I think I'm with Dan. I'm taking the freshman year team. When they got up to number 9 in the country, they were what number? Was it number 9 or number 11? Yeah, they were just on fire. Like they hit 144 against Citadel. Kellen Dunham just could not miss the first half of the season. It was unbelievable to see.
No, I couldn't agree. I think I'd go with you too, Logan. Last year was a pretty fun year. I think Keelan Martin was definitely shining last year in ways we hadn't seen him shine before. And I honestly think Kamar had a better season last year than he's had this year. I think he's getting a little too much pressure with the team this year. He felt like coming into the season, he had to be the big guy. He had to be the leader of this team. And last year, it was just a really good combo with Keelan and Kamar. They were really good complementing to each other. I really enjoyed watching that team last year. But we're naming all these fantastic players that come through the program over our 4 years. Kellen Dunnan, Keelan Martin, Kamar Baldwin. Some of those crazy transfers we even had, like Tyler Lewis, Avery Woodson. Who's your guys' favorite player that you've definitely gotten to see walk on the Hinkle court over these 4 years?
It's tough to pick because I've enjoyed all of them to some extent. But I think my favorite is probably Andrew Strabis, the trash man, as some like to call him, because he did all the dirty work and he did the small things that don't show up on the stat sheet. You know, he hustled for loose balls. He set great screens and freed up Keelan or Kamar or whoever. And he was clutch. You know, sometimes we'd be stagnant on offense, and what do? We'd say, hey, let's get Strabis the ball in the paint. Let's have him go get us a bucket and get things going. And I really like that about him.
For personal reasons, Keaton Savage was just like a cool dude off the court for me. I just really liked him. But he was also like a really cool like sixth man off the bench for us. But he always just seemed kind of like liven up the game a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of players I like. I mean, I like watching Kamar Baldwin play, obviously. I like the game last night. You kind of saw more of like last year's Kamar Baldwin when he was like picking pockets and scoring layups more than he'd been doing really this year. And I also really like Roosevelt Jones, of course, too. I don't know if I need to talk about Roosevelt Jones. Then I might be biased, I guess. Maybe I like Nate Fowler, but just because he's a classmate of mine. And yeah.
For me, it's not even close. I'm taking Stephen Bennett, the Red Rocket. You want to talk about the electric factory. When that man hit a 3 in a game and we were up by 25, it was over. Yeah. You could hear that stuff from downtown. People would get so loud. It was the best.
Yeah, I can't forget Stephen Bennett of all people. I tend to agree with you, Dan. I loved the walk-ons our sophomore year. We had in Avery Woodson and Keithan Savage. Or not the walk-ons, the transfers. And Avery Woodson and Keithan Savage, they like just came out of nowhere. They came from Memphis. Yeah. And where'd Savage come from?
George Washington.
George Washington, yeah.
They were great puzzle pieces to everything. They just really fixed in. Yeah, I mean, they were perfect.
And they were trying to get their graduate degrees and get another year of basketball. And they made us that Sweet 16 team, essentially. I mean, they had so much experience and so much talent, and they were great position players. I mean, they weren't trying to be superstars. They were just trying to win games. And I mean, I think that's why that sophomore team had the most success, is because that team went together and we're just trying to win games above all else.
And both those guys, Keaton is in the G League right now, and then Avery Woodson's overseas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was unaware of that. That's awesome. Yeah. Good for both of them. Well, then, to counter our favorite players, who's probably your guys' favorite enemy we've seen come through the campus over the 4 years?
It's got to be JP. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really no one else. I mean, you can hate the Villanova guys because they're so good, but I don't think anyone got on people's nerves more than JP, and I don't really know what it was. I don't know if it was like just the cockiness or like just the little kind of swagger he kind of like walked around with. I don't know what it was, but like something like he just took everyone off here. And I know Xavier's our rival, but like something about him specifically was worse than like everyone else. So I gotta go with him.
The dude sucks. Like for real, the guy just sucks.
Yeah. I mean, isn't I wrong, or didn't someone like put his phone number up on like a board during one game and like gave it out to the crowd, and like people started sending him texts after the game? Like, oh, he was just public enemy number 1 at Hinkle. It was a great time. I mean, could you guys think of anyone else, honestly, other than him?
Oh, dude, that Specs kid from DePaul. Oh my God. So what was our freshman year? I think he got redshirted because he was in street clothes and I thought he was a manager at the time. But so he's like, yeah, there's Stevie Bennett. And that kid, I mean, all right, if he's on your team, you love him more than anything because he's a dude off the bench that just getting everybody up. But playing against him, he's the most repulsive little crap of all time. I can't take it.
No, yeah, I definitely can agree with you guys on that. But hey, at the end of the day, we don't have to see these guys anymore. We're done. They're all going to move on, and we're going to still be able to be fans of Butler basketball after the fact. But if we talk about all these enemies and some people who have kind of made themselves public enemies around Butler's campus, Chris Holtman slowly became the sour taste in all of our mouths. What do you guys think would have happened should he had stuck around here instead of ditching us for Ohio State after our sophomore year?
You know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, personally, I think he's a better coach than LaVall Jordan is in virtually every aspect. I know at least from what I've heard, that the players get along with Laval better. So I mean, the relationship point is good, but it's tough to say what happened. I think we'd see similar results to our first 2 years. I think we'd make the tournament, and maybe not this year. I think just the talent this year is just lacking. I just think there's something not meshing right. But I think last year we maybe could have made a bit deeper run if we had him, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with our first 2 years, I mean, we had a lot of success. So for him to leave before our junior year, I think that, I mean, we were on a very good track record of success that was only going to go up. I mean, we had we lost Travis and a few other guys that year. So, I mean, that makes sense that we had a different year. But I don't know. I mean, I am all about a coach that kind of lights a fire under their players a little bit. So that's what I really liked in Holtman, and that I think Coach Ball lacks a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, you can take it a ton of different ways.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, you mentioned about how like the players have a better relationship maybe with Laval, but at the same time, they're not performing the same way they performed with Holtman. I think you're right. Him being a little bit more of the fire to their fuel, like, definitely influenced the team a little bit. Not to mention, if you look what Holtman's been doing with Ohio State the past 2 years, they've been in the top 25. And also, Holtman took one of our top recruits when he went to Ohio State. We would have had that recruit should he have.
Just want to say he's been terrible, though.
He has been terrible. That's true. So, I mean, we didn't miss out on much. I don't think we missed out there, but neither here nor there. So, moving on from that, how long do you guys think Laval will last?
I think, for me, if I were to keep giving, I would give him maybe 2 more years tops. If we don't see another tournament appearance in those 2 years, I think he has to go after that, because then it becomes a point of, I think it is more of a coaching aspect than a player's aspect. Because, they, like Dan said, are the guys who like the fire. They drop the plays and they put the unit together and put pieces where they need to be. So, if we're not seeing that success we've had the first 3 years of our college career, I think Butler might need to move on from him.
I actually think Butler does have like some pretty decent talent this year, so I was kind of disappointed with our number of wins. I do like Laval Jordan a lot because, I mean, he is an old Bulldog, so I think he really actually does care about the program more so than like Chris Holtman did, and I was pretty disappointed that Chris Holtman just left. So I think maybe with a couple more years, maybe Laval Jordan can do better. But I have more confidence in him just like staying, so hopefully we can keep a coach for more than a couple years without them getting stolen by somebody. So
I think next year's like a really important season for like his career, because like Kamar Baldwin is a senior with someone of that talent. Like, you have to win games. You have to get to the tournament with Jordan Tucker and everyone that's sticking around. Like, we're only losing Nate Fowler, Paul Jorgensen. They should like definitely be a tournament team next year, and if they're not, I think Laval's
I think our freshman class is supposed to be really good, right?
We have a good freshman class.
The
We have a
last
good
two classes.
transfer class coming in. Like, it's going to be promising. I have no worries about that. And like you pointed out, Logan, I'm glad that they're sticking within the Butler tradition and sticking within the Butler ways, hiring Laval. But I also do think at a certain point, you got to only let your sentiment last so long, and you got to look at the number of wins they're putting up there. And I definitely think next year is going to be an important year for Laval's career here with the Bulldogs. Someone else who's had a decent career here at Butler, Tripp. There were some reports at the beginning of the year he might be retiring. Do you guys think his time's up at the end of this season?
Well, he scared me last night because he reposted, or that account on Instagram reposted something about like one last go around, and he was like, yeah, one last go around. I was like, oh, is this it? Like, I didn't know if that was gonna be his last game, but he's got to have a send-off tour. I mean, he's got to come back. If that means that we have to put him in a chariot and we wheel him around Hinkle or something, I don't know, but he's got to come back.
Put him in the homecoming chariots.
He's definitely has to have a worthy successor for sure.
Yeah.
I think I remember in 2010, or it was maybe 2011, when it was still Butler 2, Blue. I remember Tripp when got him as a puppy. We all went and watched the tournament game in Hinkle. And they took Tripp and lifted him up as like the Lion King, and everyone cheered. So that was a good way for Tripp's career to start. And
I was gonna say I definitely saw photos of that. So that's what I was wondering. Is like they didn't have any ceremony last night, so they're not just gonna end Tripp's career after last night without even like introducing us to the new dog. We got to see who's taking over.
Maybe a short season next season, but I don't know. He's got to be back.
Or like halfway through the season, just kind of bring that dog into the game, start showing them the reins, seeing what's up. Like. No, but that's a fun tradition here at Butler. One we're definitely going to miss is that live dog. But, yeah, as we think about traditions, what other traditions or kind of favorite memories of Hinkle do you guys want to bring around with yourself as you're kind of finishing these last 2 months here at Butler?
I have to think. I'm going to let Logan start because I know he's got a really good one, I think.
I don't know, just the feeling you get kind of when you sit in the crowd, when you watch that intro video, and obviously it changes every year. But I guess over the 4 years, I mean, I've definitely changed a lot since I was a freshman. And the feeling I get when I watch that intro, like opening video, is like changed, and it's also the same. I feel like I've, got a lot out of Butler, and hopefully I can take that with me in my career and as I leave Butler and go on to other things. So it doesn't really have anything to do with basketball, but just watching that opening video has always been special for me, just in different ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mine was, the walks from Ross Hall with all your buddies, just like, down with Sunset. I don't know. Yeah. But no, just walking to the games with all your buddies and then just kind of hanging out was always the coolest thing. I mean, one of my favorite memories of Butler was taking a bus trip to the Cincinnati game our freshman year. That's when Roosevelt hit that runner to hit it on a buzzer beater. So, there's too many good memories to choose from. But, the walks were just the coolest thing.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And now that he mentioned Cincinnati, I remember one of my favorite moments was there was a bunch of us in Liam's room, and we were all watching just on the edge of our seats, and he pulls up and hits that, classic Rose Jones floater. And we're all just crazy, jumping around, going crazy. And I think that, it was just such a great experience, and there's just been so many of those in Hinkle and outside of Hinkle that, and kind of like Logan said, it's just great to just carry those with you forever, and.
Yeah, there was definitely something special about storming the court. If you guys got to do that, I don't know if you were there, but for me, honestly, it was those late nights freshman year. We would go and run fives pickup games in Hinkle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sam Sturdivant was a manager, or I guess he still is, and so he would let us in, and we would get to play on the court, and that was a lot of fun. That's really just fun. Yeah, it's a special place to play, and it was cool to run up and down.
No, definitely. I mean, if I have to pick a favorite memory, it doesn't even take place in Hinkle. Mine would probably be my sophomore year. I got to go up to Milwaukee for their round of 32 game in tournament. That was fun. I got to see him play. I want to say, I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Memphis or someone of that name. Sophomore year. No, it wasn't Texas Tech. I don't know, but anyways, that was still a pretty awesome experience. Just get to see him play in tournament game, win a tournament game, move on to the Sweet 16 in that sophomore year. It was definitely a fun time. But I mean, as all of you guys said, there's something special about Hinkle. It may not be the biggest arena. It may not be the craziest atmosphere. We may not ever have the best team, but they're always going to sell out the games there. And there's always going to be the same faithful fans there. And it's always still going to be really loud. And it's going to feel 10 times larger than it definitely is.
Magic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, all we can say is thank the 4 years we've had here at Butler nonetheless, and just appreciate that as we finish our last 2 months we got here at Butler.
I don't know if this counts as a memory because it happened before college, but since my mom was always a basketball fan, I actually did go to that 2010 championship game in Indianapolis, so I don't think I'll ever forget that. And just
I think that counts.
It was it was just such a fun game, and it was just so disappointing on that final shot. I don't know if I was a 12-year-old, I think I cried after the game because I wanted the Dogs to win so bad. And
it wouldn't make a difference if I was 21 years old and saw that. I'd cry too. Yeah. Well, appreciate you guys spending this time chatting about 4 years here at Butler. Tune in to our next episode. We got next week off. Next week is break. But following that week, March Madness field will be out, and I will be doing a special podcast. My dad will actually be Skyping in. He will be in Vegas the week of March Madness selections, and we will be making our own little selection of the field of 64 as the tournament begins. So tune in. Appreciate it. Have a good one.